know, it's kind of like round the fort turn and heading for home for the General Assembly session.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Speaker of the House, Nick Mattiello, is here tonight, and because we always have so much to talk about, we're going to get right to it, if that's okay with you. Hope you had a terrific Memorial Day weekend and spent some time at least thanking and/or in remembrance of our fallen soldiers, because that's what that whole thing is all about. We get a beautiful summer weekend. Thankfully, we had one. Sometimes we forget about that stuff. You can always do that round the clock and around the calendar, right? Let's get right to it. Some of the good stuff, at least. Let's start with that. You know, I'm sure the Speaker thinks most of the stuff is the good stuff, but the ed reform bill I thought was a step up for our legislature. Let's take a look at a headline here. And then we had some interesting conversation about how to finance the progress that is inscripted here. Gary Sass is a former director of revenue, was here a couple of weeks ago talking about the positives the General Assembly took in terms of steps toward Massachusetts type reform, but wondered where the money was. There's nothing about the money in this discussion.
And they say they can do it without more money. I will remind everybody that when they spoke about Massachusetts being the gold standard, Massachusetts actually took some gold out of the Treasury and invested it into the program. Over the first 5 or 7 years of their reform, which they started in '91, they spent $2 billion. Now you're saying we're going to have site-based management, we're going to have more flexibility, we're going to make improvements. Well, how do you manage something if your revenue base is fluctuating like this?
Age-old question. Welcome, Mr. Speaker. Great to have you.
Dan, nice to be on your show.
Good step up on the ed reform stuff. The momentum was there because
nobody in elected office or in education was comfortable with our standardized test scores, and our children deserve better, and we all stepped up and came up with a comprehensive plan, which I think over the long run is going to serve our students very well.
So the ed commissioner outgoing, some might say he was rather quiet in his leadership, but at least he pursued a comparability in terms of the test scores, taking the MCAS and making it the RICAS, and now the testing is equitable, and the foundation for building it is now close to replicate for what Massachusetts did a decade and plus, no, more than a decade ago. Let me ask you this in broader perspective, then we'll talk about some of the money. So you say leadership and the players, so to speak, weren't happy with the scores. Well, of course, nobody was.
Right.
Do you get a sense that everyday constituents in this state are PO'd enough to drive this reform? Because I'll tell you, I do not. I get a sense that there's a lot of, I won the JV. And I think it's been a JV performance versus the varsity in Massachusetts. The Barringtons of the world say, hey, we lead the league. Yeah, but you lead the JV. We need a comparable town in Massachusetts to be compared to. Barrington's got to have a goal to chase in the Commonwealth. Central Falls needs to chase a like community in the Commonwealth. That being said, I think most people feel like, hey, I can get my kid to college in towns that are, you know, performing okay, and others are so desperate just to get the asbestos out of the ceiling that they don't. So talk to me about this.
I think your analysis is pretty fair. I think everybody cares about education, but we care about different elements of our educational system. So your analysis is pretty good.
So how are we going to get better? How are we going to get better? I mean, you write some bills, you change some product protocols, you create site-based management, which means more local authority. Principals make more decisions. School committees have less personnel decisions, thank God, because they're ill-prepared anyway. Overmatched, by the way, with the unions negotiations. You didn't help that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Sorry. But what, you know.
The curriculum, Dan, from everything that all the educational experts are telling me, having a common curriculum and an improved curriculum is going to be the most significant part of the reform that we're passing.
Talk to me about the money, because the curriculum was boosted. Bill Weld threw a ton of dough, and that General Assembly in Massachusetts threw a ton of dough at their reform. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of money coming with these practices that you're changing.
Well, you have to put things in perspective. You know, the Mass reform was a long time ago. And I don't want to speak for Mass because I'm guessing right here, but I suspect that Mass was not funding their education system to the level we are. We spend about the same amount of money as Massachusetts does per pupil. So our problems are not in the spending. So I challenge people when they say Mass did this back then, when we have different circumstances. One of the problems in government is every time you ask someone to do something else, they want more money to do it. Well, you're going to be adding employees each and every day forever and not be able to afford it. We have plenty of employees in RIDE, and if they can justify a need for more, we'll be happy to consider that. We do so every year. But per pupil, Rhode Islanders are very generous and spending about the same amount of money
So you're
as
telling me it's just the
Massachusetts.
policies, practices, and curriculum that, which is really, it's a non-monetary problem, and the legislation is the solution to the non-monetary problem.
Yes, and if the Department of Education needs additional resources, they will make the request each and every year as they do, and we'll consider that. We have never rejected a request from the Department of Education that I know of.
You're also trying to change the way they do business. You want them to be much more hands-on than you know, good luck. Here's our thought, good luck. That's kind of the way the whole thing has been set up. The new commissioner, who's due here any day, Commissioner Infante Green, seems to be hyper-focused on Providence right now. She's an urban expert.
And Dan, if I may, you also have to change the culture. Until you change the culture...
From what to what?
Well, from just going through the motions of a bureaucracy to actually caring about kids and making sure that we address all their needs. And what I'm thinking of right now is dyslexia. That is a major problem that I've started to look at and started to get my arms around. 1 out of 5 kids, almost 20% of our student population has some form of dyslexia I'm learning, and we're not addressing that at all. It's infuriating because you're leaving behind a large chunk of our student population.
What can you do about that?
We're working on it. We're training our teachers to address it. We're
Is that in the legislation? Did I miss that?
No. That's we have separate legislation for that. But I've been having meetings with RIDES and insisting that all of the needs of our students are addressed.
Is there a price tag that comes with that?
There will be a price tag with that, because that's a totally new set of programs and education practices.
Well,
so there will be, and if we need to appropriate resources for that, we're prepared to do so. But the experts have to tell us the monetary amount. But we have to make sure that we actually assess the needs of our students and address those needs in an appropriate way, both financially and through the proper programming and materials. And the General Assembly is prepared to do that.
I was talking with a teacher, a kindergarten teacher in Pawtucket on the radio show the other day, and she was lamenting the idea she has no teacher's aides for some 25 kids in the classroom, more than half of which don't even speak English. I did a little comparison to other communities in other states who are loaded with teacher's aides. So if there's a money issue, if there's no money issue here, why does that happen?
I don't know, because a lot of communities, in fact, have the appropriate number of aides and so forth. In Rhode Island, you have a partnership between the state and the local communities. The state is stepping up with their per pupil cost. The local communities have to do the same.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about some of the other legislation that's already passed. Some substantial things have happened in the early mid part of the session, which is better pacing. We'll be right back.
Like most things I do, people don't love it all, but I thought it was a fair compromise.
That's the governor on the evergreen contract, which, well, yeah, eventually we're going to just wear ourselves out complaining about this, and that's what the speaker's counting on. I'm absolutely certain. I don't know why. I don't know what this was all about. You know, and that We've never, well, look, I think in many ways you've defended your positions, whether I like them or not, and you and I have had a pretty good way of doing that business. Well, why don't you just say that you owed the unions one and be done with it, rather than trying to rationalize that this was a critical, important, constructive thing to do to the communities and just strap them into a position of negotiation?
Because that's not reality. We say no much more often than we say yes to union requests. You don't publicize that as
You owed
much.
them one.
No,
They've
this
been batting like 225 up there, so you owed them one.
This is something that's been in the works, and what triggers these types of bills is the actions of individual communities. I've been elected for 11 years now, and every community extends their contract until the next one is entered into, and then you get a mayor, usually through the advice of an attorney who's going to make a lot of money off lawsuits. They come in, they unilaterally make changes. You have a lot of litigation, a lot of disruption. Teachers are unhappy, students are compromised, and nobody wins. So at the end of the day, since teachers don't have the right to strike, you shouldn't have the right to unilateral changes. It's just fair labor practice, and it's simple as that. I, as honestly as I can say, believe that it's the right, fair thing to do. The municipality still has the right to make the final decision. Nobody took their decision-making ability away.
You did on economy. You did on the financial part of it. Sure, you did.
Absolutely not. Oh, no.
Well, listen.
You misunderstand the bill.
I don't.
What we said is you leave the old terms in place until you negotiate new ones. In which
you
case,
leave the old salary and benefits in
Yes.
place. The pension balloon in this state already burst. No one's cleaning it up.
pension doesn't apply to that. Those contracts are already contracts that you can't change.
Well, the point of the matter is contributions to pensions have to be flexible.
Which are not affected by what we're talking about. Let's make it clear. You're mixing and matching two different kinds of contracts.
Salaries and benefits.
Yes.
Pension benefits are excluded from this conversation.
Absolutely, because those contracts.
So mandating, say, the $20 a week for a teacher or a DPW worker to contribute into their pension program is something that is still flexible on the part of the communities. No mayor that sat here has told me that they feel like they've got that power.
They don't. They haven't had it long before Evergreen. Those contract rights are contracts. Those are already permanent contracts. The pension plan is already a permanent contract. This is the contract that they renegotiate every 3 years. And I will agree with you, Dan. The municipalities have terrible problems on their pensions.
You better step up on that pretty soon.
They've underfunded them. They haven't made their contributions. They haven't always been responsible.
Irrecoverable, by the way. Most communities have an irrecoverable financial problem there, which is going to end up, it's sometimes, it depends on the day where I'm sitting here saying, get out of the town's business, and then I do, honestly, admittedly,
want us to come in.
Get into the town's business, because there are some things that are too big to fix locally. I don't think this contractual thing was one of them. I don't understand.
The two are different.
Yeah, I understand, but I just don't understand the philosophy and the intermittent consistencies about, meaning inconsistencies, about the state running communities.
The private sector.
You have a local authority built into the Constitution. You got a home rule authority built in.
But the state has to oversee labor practices. The state has to sometimes set a statewide policy on different things. You can't have all of our 39 cities and towns doing absolutely different things.
Well, then someday maybe you ought to just bite off a statewide tax system. Your car tax reform.
Yes.
That's
statewide at this point.
Yeah, understood. But you know what? At some juncture, we still have that beer bet. You're not going to make it.
You want to bet?
We just did. we already have a bet going. But not to use Gary Sass twice, but we are going to do it. Here's what Gary said about the state versus local authority when we were talking about these evergreen contracts.
Historically, in this state and most other states, state and local officials have tried to work in tandem, work as partners to solve problems. And in the case of the evergreen contracts, it's clearly a case that special interests, other interests, have more clout than our elected officials. In this state, for a couple of decades, a weakening of our local leadership. As a result, it becomes harder and harder to work with the legislature, work with the governor in getting their voices heard on very controversial legislation.
He also said that in the old days, the old tough mayors that used to run these communities wouldn't have put up with this for a second and wouldn't have allowed you to do what they did. These mayors all came to see you after you passed it in the House. You must have laughed yourself to sleep that night.
No, we had a very nice conversation. We do get along very well with the mayors. I'm friends with most, and we have a very good working relationship.
It's not about that. It's about the issue. I mean, it's
Right.
not. It's not about personal fights. It's about the idea. All right, look. I think you took a step in the wrong direction in terms of
But
local authority.
I have
on
to
these
say
things.
this. This is what every community has done for decades.
Good
So-
faith operation by a local community, and the discretion to exercise that doesn't have to be mandated by the
That's
states.
right. But when it's not, everyone should act in good faith. And the private sector also does it. Most private sector contracts that renew have an evergreen provision in it because you want good labor management. You don't want ill feelings.
Yeah.
You don't want
Well,
a workforce that's
what
disgruntled.
you've done is you've forced the mayors to hold out the only carrot that they have now, which is layoffs, which is the most contentious solution to contractual problems.
The mayors have plenty of tools, but if both sides act in good faith, both sides should be able to reach an agreement that neither side is as happy with. I find that most good negotiations, both sides leave away a little unhappy, and that's how it should be, and that's, I think, how it's going to proceed if both sides work real hard and work in good faith, as you suggested they should, and I agree.
When we come back at Speed Round, there's a lot of stuff still in the hopper. Stay with us. It's not your immediate problem. The abortion codification, the Roe v. Wade codification legislation passed the House, went to the Senate, and it's got all jammed up there. There's some language in it, though, that is in duplicate chambers that Senator Archambault, who held up a committee vote the other night, makes some sense on, where he suggests that the language goes a little bit too far, over-codifies, and he's got some problems with the language of health of the mother as an absolute. This is an interesting political challenge for you because I've been saying I think you did the right thing, being a pro-life guy, and your comrade, the Senate President Donna Cruzero, also being a pro-life guy. But I'm guessing you saw the issue to be too big to sit on it. Let the floor decide what it wanted to do, and you came up with this. By the way, another dig. I wish you had that mindset more often. The power in the Speaker's office is so significant that if you don't like something, for the most part, it ain't going anywhere. So you used a thought process. I can't remember. Can you, by the way? It's a little digression here, but can you remember another issue where you were adamantly opposed to something coming to the floor, but you let it go through a process for a floor vote? I can't.
No, it's not that I'm adamantly opposed. It's I have my personal feelings regarding abortion, and I voted.
No. Do you remember any other time when you were like, this ain't good, but let it go?
Well, there's never been a situation where I disagreed with the majority of members in the chamber. Usually we come to a consensus, and it's more democratic than people believe, but we do come to a consensus.
But that's all pre-gaming. I'm talking about, see, the answer is no. Right, the answer is no. I don't remember ever in another case when I knew you were absolutely opposed personally or philosophically to something that moved through
what I will say
to a
is,
floor vote that could have gone with Mattiello voting no, and it passed.
yeah, most issues I'm not going to vote contrary to the body. But every issue is different, and every issue has its time. This is an issue that is a moral issue, an issue of conscience, and 70% of the population disagreed with my position, and that's something you have to respect, and we try to do
Which,
so.
again, I think is the right thing for you to
But
do.
on other issues, we try as a body to come up with what's right. So things don't get on the floor unless the majority of people believe it's the right thing. So it's not that myself or a speaker is directing where it goes. It's all done in collaboration with all of our members.
Or in committee, or in
You
the
know,
third floor,
in
in smaller groups. Anyway, we could talk about that all night. What do you think? We can ask each other this question, right? What do you think the Senate's going to do here? If there are amendments that are made that limit the health issue for, in other words, clarify mental health matters and some of the quick child legislation that is still kind of archaically on the books, are you open to that?
Oh,
Or are you do you feel like you're a spectator in this one, that you're just being a good custodian and letting it all work out in front of you?
The House passed a bill which I believe is a codification of Roe v. Wade as closely as it could be drafted to reflect Roe v. Wade. I myself personally agree that the health exception is too vague and too broad, but that's Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade left the decision between the doctor and his or her patient, and that's how the legislation left it. I think if you try to narrow it more than that, I'd personally be pleased, but it may run into a constitutional issue or a challenge. So,
But your disposition, I'm guessing, is, we'll see what the Senate does. If it comes back to me, it comes back to me. If it
we
doesn't,
will.
it doesn't.
If it comes back, we will have the same exact democratic process. It'll end up on the floor for a vote, and everybody will vote their conscience.
Any worry about this casino litigation? I think you should be. I really do. I think you should be. This casino litigation, my God, it was sitting right in front of you guys to put a referendum up, timing-wise, last November. It would have passed 75%, and you wouldn't have had a constitutional challenge.
We have pretty good, in my opinion, legal opinion that says it's constitutional. I'm not that concerned because it's not. It's an activity that I think our citizens enjoy, and it generates some revenue for the state, but it has not been as significant as originally projected.
By the way, Governor, very, very aggressive on her numbers there, and you've accepted some of them. What are you going to do? Because it's not nearly performing the way it should.
Well, we have a significant budget problem, and I keep sounding that alarm, and I want people to be, acclimated for the situation that's coming. We have a difficult budget year coming up, and that's why I've said no new
When have you
programs.
not had a difficult budget year? Do you ever remember walking into the late June session going, it's a piece of cake?
No, but the last few were very manageable, where we had difficult decisions, but we were able to address everybody's needs and everybody's wants, and everybody walked away from the table relatively happy. This year is going to be a year that we're not going to be able to do that. No new programming. I can't imagine having the money to do so, and we're probably going to have to look at some structural changes.
All right. Wrap up third week of June, you think?
I hope so, yes.
No 2 a.m.ers?
No 2 a.m.ers, no 2 a.m.ers, and we'll wrap up roughly the third week of June, plus or minus a few days.
You'll be on your motorcycle quicker this summer.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it,
Good
Dan.
to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Speaker of the House, final word when we come back. So tomorrow night we will take a look at some other perspectives on the General Assembly's late charge to the end of the session, but it seems like everybody's somewhat in simpatico. We're going to watch this abortion thing real carefully and spend some time on it this week, right? We'll see you at 3 o'clock until 6, or talk to you then on WPRO. Thanks so much for tuning in. Good night.